Hi everyone, it's Karen, and I'm back to do the tutorial I promised on this little pocket treasure book that I created for the hop. And if you didn't see the video, it is the previous one to this one, and I'll link it at the end so that you can go over and see the one that I finished and the one that I did for the hop. This is the beautiful fabric that Kim sent me in my design team package, and also I used the plain muslin that she also has available in the store, this one. I use that for the second fabric on this one. So you need 2 pieces of fabric is the easiest way to go, especially the first time you're making it, and then you do add-ons on top of that. And what you need are 2 pieces. One makes the long top to bottom of your T or cross shape, and then a piece makes your cross piece. And my measurements are 21 for the long piece, 21 inches, and 17 for this one, 17 for the cross piece, and they're all 3¼ inches wide. But you can really you could go 3 inches, you could go a bit narrower if you want. I wouldn't go much wider, and your length and width of it can be different depending on how you decide to put yours together. After you've watched me put this one together, then you can kind of change that around to your own. So this little book folds up all into this cute little package, and when you unfold it, you have the T or the cross shape. And I have started working on this one a little bit so that I can show you some ideas of what I'm doing with this one. I realize it's very long and it doesn't fit on the camera, but there she is, the long part. And then this is the cross part. Now, the biggest thing about this little tea book, if you're going to be just sewing the edges and then folding it all together and then gluing different images or whatever you want in it, and you're going to do it all as a glue project, then it's really simple, because this is where you're at. You have your one fabric for your outside piece, you have your inside piece, so 2 pieces. There is some extra bits on top of this one right now, but just ignore that. It would just be the 2 pieces, and you would just sew them all together all the way around the edges. You could even do that on the machine all the way around, or hand stitch it all the way around, and then you can do your folds and glue your pockets and things in. I did this as a stitching project, and I'm going to show you how to do it as a stitching project, because it's a little bit more complicated if you're going to do it as stitching. So if you're going to do it as a stitching project, you're going to want to do each of your layers separately. So I'm just going to take this layer off. This is my cross piece, and I just have it pinned in the center here too. And I'm just going to lift this off so I can show you. This is your original piece, looks like this. 17 inches of this muslin plain fabric. You can use patterned fabric for both sides if you want. That's all right too. I've got a thread on here with on a needle, and I'm just going to show you some stitching that I'm doing. The overlay on this one, on the muslin piece, I've done an overlay of lace, 2 different kinds. I've done an overlay of a piece of the fabric that's on the back side. I did a little square here in the center of all the pretty flowers. Did another overlay of lace here. And these are all ones that were in my design team package. These are all in the store. And then this is this rosebud trim that was in my design team package. And then these are the 2 little thimbles, which is part of my sewing theme for this one, that I put on each end that I'm going to stitch in place. I've already stitched this lace on. You can see my stitches on the back side. So I do a short stitch on the front and a long stitch on the back, just going up and down, or in and out. You can't even hardly see the stitch on this side, because I do a really short stitch and then a long stitch on the back, short stitch on the front, long stitch on the back. And I do that down both sides to hold all that in place. Then I added a little reinforcement here at the pocket. I did a little piece of the fabric, and then the rosebud trim on top just to give that some strength. And then I did sew down this edge of the lace. And you can see again, long stitches on the back, short stitches on the front, which you can't hardly even see. And I usually, when I'm doing that type of stitching, I usually pick a thread that matches. This time I actually used this cream colored Gutermann polyester sewing thread for that, and it blends in really nicely. And so I've done that all the way across, and that's how you would do it when you're adding on your extra bits, if you're doing it by sewing. Because if you were to just join these pieces together right away and then sew, all that sewing is going to show on both sides, which is fine. If you like that look, then that's okay too. The straight stitches along the top and that are fine. It's just if you get into any fancy stitches, which I am going to be doing some, I want to do a little bit of embroidery on the little flowers, and then I'm just stitching and I'm going to add some cross stitches and French knots in here. That's going to show up all along here on this fabric, and it's just not, that's not the look I'm going for. The straight stitches along the edge wouldn't bother me at all. So certainly if you are just doing straight stitches, you can go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to just show you what I'm doing on the back side of your tee, as it's got two parts to it. Remember, it folds and flips all in on each other on itself. I will do on this side, I'm going to do this piece of lace, and I'm going to stitch this all on. I'll probably do some embroidery stitches on there. And this side, I'm doing this lace. And these beautiful laces are all from Kim's shop. And oops. And then that will flip in like this. And on here and on here, I'm probably going to be stitching on some sewing little images that I printed. They're a digital that I have printed onto fabric. I just printed it onto an old pillowcase. And then I'm going to be stitching them onto there. Just like I'm stitching these thimbles on here, I will be doing the same thing on there. So I'll show you that at a later date, because that's going to be, I'm going to take this project with me. I'm going away for a few days, and I can stitch on it by just taking this and some threads, and it'll be a great project to work on. So I'm going to put this aside. This is the back part of our tee. I'll just put it up here actually. I put my cross piece about, I think it's about 7 inches from the top is where I put that. I usually measure it by, I like to have, this is the top, I like to flip in once and then it'll flip down. And I like to leave a little bit of room here and here for the flip ups, because these get thicker when you're adding things, and it allows some room to flip them up. And this one, I like to leave the outside a little bit longer, this particular piece, because this is going to all bulk up in the middle. And you want this to be able to fold over your, I don't mind if it's a little bit short and the bottom of the other one shows, but I just don't want it to be too short. So that's where I kind of gauge where I'm going to put my cross piece. But I think, yeah, it's about 7 inches, so about there. And then just fold this piece in half and give it a finger press. That'll give you a line, and then you got it. And then it lays right down there. And then this first piece would go over top. And then what happens, I usually like the bottom piece, which is here, to fold up 3 times. So there is once, and then twice, and again leaving myself a little bit of room, and then folding it in. And then of course these pieces are going to fold in this way, and I usually fold my sides in first, then I fold my bottom up, and then I fold the top like that, and then it bring it down over here. Now, if you run into the same problem I did, and that is that I wasn't being careful when I was cutting up my fabric, and I was a little bit short for my piece to go on the back side of here, because I needed 21 inches and I was a little bit short. So I just attached on to there with a very quick running stitch. You can see there the stitches, and same. I didn't do like, I just did stitches across. It doesn't really matter. This is all going to get covered up. because I'm going to be putting something over top there. So that's going to end up being just inside of the front. And I have lots of these images that I've printed. I just don't know what I'm going to be using yet, but this is what they look like when they're printed on the pillowcase that I had. And this can fit right on top there, and I can stitch it on. I could even cut it a little bit smaller and add a little bit of lace around the edges. And so that's going to be totally covered up. So you don't need to worry if you need to piece your fabrics together. Just try and look at piecing them where you can add something, or when you go to work on this section, then add some lace in there to cover that. Like I say, add an image or however you want to do it. You can even cut your laces. Like this one's a really good example. It's really pretty. I use this inside the book already. And you could cut a piece of that and put 2 pieces on top of there, right like that. And you totally blur out that line. Or you could put one like this way across there, and then something else at the bottom, like this lace is really pretty. This is another one from Kim's shop, but there, if you put that one on there, and then you were to just put this one as an extra overlay over top, oop, embroidery threads coming in, you could do something like that. Or if you want to have something that's a little bit more of an accent, take a cream, since this is a real white lace, take a cream colored one like this. I love this lace. And cut out one of those bundles of flowers and then just stitch that on there. And even if you were to stitch that on, you'll see I'm going to be stitching with those and pulling out some colors from your flowers. So blue, or this dark burgundy red, or a pinky color, and stitch that on with that. And then it would be an accent as well. So there's lots you can do, and there's nothing is, oh gee, I made a mistake, because it's easy to fix. So let's go back to this middle piece, and I'll show you what I mean about doing them separately. I'm just going to fold this piece all back up. So that's the center folded in. There's the bottom folded up and in, and this one's going to come over. So I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to get this all in screen here so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to stitch on this little thimble. I did already, you can see all the stitches from sewing in and sewing down the fabric in the center, and all along the edges I've all hand stitched that. All those stitches are not going to show, because when we put it together, this piece, just let me zoom out for a second. This whole piece is going to be attached to the other side of the T part, and you're not even going to see any of the stitches on the inside. You're going to see the pretty rose fabric on the back side and any other details that you put on it. And if you're kind of confused about that, if you just stick with me, it will make more sense. But let's just take it a step at a time, because otherwise it can get confusing. So I just want to do a little bit of stitching and just show you a little bit more about how I'm going to stitch. This is just one of the polyester sewing threads I have, and I like this color. It suits a lot of the images that I have printed. All I'm doing is a back stitch on here, and a back stitch is very simple. You're just going forward, just going to pull those little frays and then you go back to where your last stitch came up, and you're going in there. And then I think I'm back to where I started. So I'm going to just go up to here, because I want to. So what happens is you get really nice, even stitches. They're all the way around holding this little thimble in place, this thread. They're not to be an accent. That's not what I want it to be. What I want it to be is functional and to hold the thimble, this little thimble down. So now I want to go follow this line here, and I will do back stitches on there. So let's just make sure I'm lined up here good. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to come up in the front of that about the length that I want the next stitch. Pull that through. There's my first stitch. There's where it ends, and that's where I'm going to go in. And then it's really weird looking through the camera and sewing. Oh my goodness. So back through where my stitch came up and forward to the length that I want my next stitch to be. I try to keep my stitches fairly close in length, but I mean, that's not a big deal either. So back to where the last stitch ended and forward to where I want my next stitch to go. There we go. And pull. And you see I'm getting a little line on there. So I'm going to continue doing that across on here. Let's just show you how to do that. And I just like the back stitch because you get, it's a fairly consistent stitch. Your overcast stitch is more of a messy stitch, and your running stitch I find to be a very functional stitch. I use it a lot too. Like I used it to put all these fabrics in place, the other stitch I showed you. Okay, so that's one more stitch will take us all the way across. And then I'm going to go down to here because I want to do, I think, there. So that's the stitch across there. And then here what I wanted to do is the first one's a little bit blurry, but I wanted to do some sort of cross stitches across here. Now, I've been embroidering since I was a young child. My mom taught me how to embroider and did all kinds of embroidery and crewel, and there were some other ones that I did too that I can't even remember all the names of them, but we used to do, my mom used to love doing, she taught me how to do like the dresser scarves. We used to always have those on the dressers, and they had embroidery on each end and pillowcases. So yeah. Do know how to do the basic stitches, and I'm happy with that. That's enough to have in my arsenal to add to these projects. And cross stitch, when I did actual cross stitch, it's very precise. It's fun doing it now because with doing it the way I do it now as just sort of a freestyle or slow stitching, the X's don't all have to be exactly the same, and you know, it's not about being precise. It's just about making an X. Or if you make it the other way, you can make it like a cross, whatever you want to do. So you can see, I hope you can see those little X's, and they're going to go all the way across here. And you can see the actual design on the little thimble here is more circles with these little lines coming out the bottom. When you're stitching on fabric, the one fun thing about it that I really love is that you can make something to look any way you want it to look. You don't have to stitch the exact shape that's on the fabric. You can change it, which is what I decided to do here. And of course, I've unthreaded my needle. Of course, you know, I'm not going to be able to thread it because I'm on camera. See, so I'm going to pull that to the back. It's getting a bit short, and it's probably going to unthread again. So I'm just going to loop that and finish that off. Almost finished those cross stitches. I'll put some more thread in my needle and I'll finish them off to the end. But I got up to here, and you can see the difference. There they are there, and then I need to finish about 3 more. And then I will do an overstitch or a back stitch across here, probably a couple of rows just in the center of the thimble there. And then these 2 little flowers, I want to do some embroidery on them. Start with a pinky one. And let's hope that I'm on camera. Not going to follow and, you know, precisely do these flowers as the shape that they are. All I want to do is just add a bit of texture with my embroidery floss, add a little bit more color to them. So all I'm doing is going from this, not quite the center, there's sort of a little round center in the middle there. I'm going from the outside edge of it to the outside edge of the petal. This one blurs a little bit here on the edge. I'm still going to go out. And then I'm going to come down to that one. And I'm going to pop in. Although there is not a petal here, I'm going to make it look like there's one. And that's the other thing that you can do when you are embroidering on something, is you can add in a petal or something, or what appears to be a petal. You can just add that in yourself. Use your imagination and add it where you think it should be. So that's what I did there. And so there's each of these little petals has a thread on it. And I am going to do some French knots in the center. And then I will do this one in a shade of blue, and then do knots in the center the same. And that will be that thimble done, and it will be attached. And just let me see if I can actually stay on camera. Oh, I find stitching on camera is so hard. I so appreciate the girls that I watch that stitch on camera, because they are amazing. And I just pull my thread really slowly when I'm doing a French knot, especially if I have quite a long piece of thread. And I usually wrap around 3 or 4 times when I'm doing, this is just a single piece of embroidery floss, because I want it all to be quite delicate. I don't want there to be a big accent. And there. I think that looks fine. And these are called quilting applique pins, and they have just the tiniest little dipped end on them, and they're very short. And if you're doing any kind of stitching, they are amazing because your thread doesn't get caught on them all the time. I think I'm going to do 3 in the center. I don't know, I usually work in odd numbers, so let's do a third one there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And down we go. Yeah, I like that better. And that's my little accent on there. And I think that looks pretty. I think it just adds a little something to the thimble and a little more interest for anyone getting this. They can see that they'll be able to see the stitches and see that how it was tacked on or sewn on, and I don't know, I just like it. I also like adding beads too. That's what I did. I did a lot of beading in the fairy one that I did for the hop. So that's my little accent bit there. And it's also, you know, as soon as you put the French knots on, it really makes it more tactile. So that's the little thimble. Let's see, what did I load for the blue one? I'm not sure I loaded the right color, but let's try it and see. This is quite of a blue flower, and this thread I loaded is more of a turquoisey color. Am I on screen? Sorry if I started off screen. I think it's going to work. especially when you're only using one single strand of thread, it still allows the color, the original color of the fabric to show through, but it just adds a little accent. So you don't have to have an exact color match to still come out with it looking good. And I'm doing the same with this one as I did with the last one. This one doesn't really have a rounded center in it, so I'm just kind of stabbing into the center. And this one again, it kind of looks like it blurs off on the side, so I'm just putting an extra stitch in there. And there you go. There's your little accent flower on that side. And again, I will put some French knots in the middle. I like how they look on a project. I might just put one in this one. So I wrapped it 5 times around just so that it's a little bit bigger French knot. And there we go. And that turned out, I think it's cute. I like it. So I will just finish this one off as well. I just do a little stitch on the back and loop it through. I usually do it twice because occasionally, if it's a little bit loose, sometimes it pulls its way out. Nah, you don't really want that. There you go. That is all stitched. This is a pocket, and I am going to be using that. You will see as we go along, and I made a pocket here as well in the lace, and that I will be using as well for something. And this little thimble I will be doing the same thing with. I will be sewing around the edge. I will probably use my cream embroidery floss to stitch around the edge, and it will be more visible on this one. I might try and see if I can find a little bit of a goldy thread, because it's more of a vintage gold color, but I think I have one that will fit. And I will put that on the bottom there, and then I'm going to do some embroidery stitches again on some of these flowers just to pop them out a little bit. However you decide that you're going to fold it, that's what you need to decide. And then you're going to be doing stitching on whatever you're stitching on. And you'll do that on this side, and then you'll also do it on the other side. So the other side of this center one is this one. This is my floral side. This and this will attach together. It will attach together like that. That will be this side, and this side will be the floral. And I will hand stitch it together all the way along the sides and along each end, but you could also sew this together on the machine. And then eventually this will be attached into your center part of your tee. And this is the center of it, the book of the tee here. And I probably am going to be just doing some stitching on there, but I'm not sure yet. I might also add some laces in there. I'm just not sure how I want to finish that yet. But this will flip in, and then these are on the outside, you can see. And then this one will flip this way. And like I said, I'm probably going to embroider an image on there. And then this side will flip in, and I'll probably do the same. Just because as it's turned out, there's quite a lot of white on there. And I think it will fit really well. Like I have quite a few different images that came in this digital that I purchased. And I've printed them all on that pillowcase. And then I can set them on here. And then again, do the same thing. I'll just stitch this on with this thread is a winner, I'll tell you, because it matches a lot of these images. And I will just stitch it on. I might again do a little bit of extra stitching over the flowers. Each one I will decide as I get there. And I will stitch that on, of course, while this is away. So I will fold up this one, put it away, and then I will take this one and I will do my stitching. So I will stitch this lace on. You could also glue it on. It's not a big deal if that's what you choose to do. But I think I'll probably stitch just because when I'm away from my craft area, I don't have my glue gun with me, and that is my choice. I will just take this and I'll fold it in and fold it in. I can kind of see my fold lines, and I can see my center press there, so I know. And then this will go in this way, this will go in this way, and so I know this will go here. So again, when I'm ready, I figured it out exactly where I want it, so I will put that on there and I will stitch it on. And then I've got this one that I've planned for the other side. So again, always looking at placement before you stitch these things on, because otherwise you're going to be sad if you stitch it on wrong. So that one will go there. And I'll just pin them quickly, and then I can just show you how that center part is all going to flip onto itself and how it's going to look. So this one will go here. This one will go here. Those laces will go on the ends. So that will be on that side. I would sew all those things in place, just like I'm sewing on this side, and I'm almost finished on this side. I've sewn all these, hand sewn all these laces on and trims and fabric. These two pieces will go together, and you will sew all the way around the edges to make them one piece, which is going to be your cross piece. And then when you're folding your book together, this would fold in. This side would fold in. This will fold in. And where did my image go? Oh, you see? When I did it, and that is a good thing that I've just done, because when I put it on the back, I thought I was putting it in the right place. But look, when you fold in, it's missing. Where is it? I put it in the wrong place. And you know, I put it on the back, and that is the one spot on this whole thing where you don't have to put anything, because that's going to attach to your long piece in the middle. So where I wanted that was here. So this is a really good reason to always lay everything out, pin it down, and then look at it from how is it going to function? Fold in. Yes, there's the lace there I wanted. Fold in. Yes, there's the lace I wanted. Fold in. Yes, there's the image I wanted. And fold in. Yes, there's the image I wanted. This part right here is eventually going to be the part that attaches onto your piece here. And so you are not, be about here. You're not going to want anything on there, because that is going to attach when the T attaches on, or the cross part attaches right there. You're not going to have to worry. There's not going to be anything behind there. You're not going to see it, because this is going to fold up. These are going to fold in. This is going to fold up. This is going to fold down. And that gets hidden in behind here. And this is your back right here. This is what this is on your rose fabric side, and it's going to show here. That other piece got buried inside here. So you don't ever have to put anything or do anything with that. So always good idea as you're working on your project to keep looking at the functionality of it as well, so that you know for sure that you're putting things where they need to be. So I hope that will get you started. You'll get your pieces cut to what you want. Again, mine are 21 inches long for the long centerpiece and 17 for these across, and they're 3 1/4 inches wide. The fairy book one I only did it, the centerpiece only has 2 folds. So this folds in and this folds in. It's just the way that you want to design them. This time I'm doing something a little different, and so this is how I wanted to do it. And there's no right or wrong way. You do it the way you want to. And then the bottom, I usually like that to be the longer piece, and I like to be able to fold it up once and then again a second time And then the top piece, I generally like to have it that I fold it down once. Leave a bit of a space to be able to fold it over. It gives you some room for being able to pull it down to cover. So that fell out of there just as I was about to pull it up. And there you go. There she'll be. That will help you get started, and you can start doing some stitching. And then I'm going to come back and I will show you exactly how to put it together, and I'll show you some more of some of the things that I have put in mine and some of the more of the stitching I've done. So hope you have a lot of fun working on yours if you've decided to make one. And I will have the next video up within a week so that you can see any more steps. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below, and I will be sure to answer any questions you have. Okay, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you coming by, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye for now.